Todd, you've heard of the old 96er?
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's not 96, but the Pine Tree Supper Club has a court jester that weighs in at 55 ounces.
Our goal at Best Motorcycle Roads is to make your next motorcycle trip the best it can be.
The bottom line is the UP is just great riding no matter which way you cut it. So at the very end of August, we took off on a trip. It was a 4-day trip up to the UP. So maybe we'll just break it down day by day and kind of give everybody the lowdown. So we went from Iowa to Escanaba, Michigan, which is just before it kind of flattens out at the top of the Lake Michigan. So early morning leave, 151 to Wisconsin, which is kind of a nice diagonal road, 4-lane across Iowa to Mineral Point, because Brad had been to this Pointer Cafe a number of times. So it was perfect timing. We showed up in Mineral Point and got a nice little breakfast. But then the kind of funny thing that happened is the company that I work for, actually, one of the people that I work for lives in Mineral Point. And so right when we're walking out to leave, I took a selfie of the restaurant sign and me, and she was driving by when she got it. So she pulls in the parking lot
way.
within 1 minute.
Wow.
It was the craziest thing. So that was kind of fun. So it was just one of those times.
You were taking the picture for her.
I was taking the picture for her. I took a picture, a selfie of me, and I sent it to her, assuming that, who knows where she was.
When she would see it.
And she pulls in
God.
right then. So it was just one of those things that's like, we talk about these cool things that happen, on these motorcycle trips. And that was just one of those, like, you couldn't have planned it to be better, right?
Yeah.
So after Mineral Point, we headed up south of Oshkosh, and we took a few county roads to get there. But once you get to Oshkosh and Green Bay, pretty much city. So we jumped on the interstate, kind of gave us the fast lane through. On the north side of Green Bay, 41 is known as the World War II Veterans Memorial Highway. And so that's cool. Just a nice piece of history there. I think they've dedicated a number of years ago. And then Marionette is kind of the end of Wisconsin. And that's when you jump the Marionette River and you go to Menominee. And that's Menominee.
Sorry.
So that's where you pick up Highway 35. And you pretty much ride the Lake Michigan coast all the way up to Escanaba with that. And that is a great drive. So imagine you're kind of leaving Green Bay. When you're looking across, you see some land. That's Door County. So there's an inlet.
Yep.
Yeah. So you kind of, if you think Door County, that's what you're kind of doing. You're riding up in that way. So not really an eventful Escanaba night. But day 2 was Escanaba to Gaylord, Gaylord is on the south side of Michigan. You don't call it I guess, do they call it the Lower Peninsula?
I've never heard it called that.
Me either. So that's why I was like confused when I started to say it. But Gaylord is like, if you think noon on the Lower Peninsula, but probably up about 2/3 up. And the goal this time was to ride 2 down from Escanaba across the bridge, and then 23, which is on the Huron side of the lake, because we had never rode that way before. So, but before you get to the bridge, I would just say, I just love the north side of Lake Michigan. I don't know what it is about riding, and usually west to east. It's just a great, kind of like a lake view that you would think.
I agree.
I mean, some of the houses, there's beach along most of it, but you can see the lake. It's just beautiful. Now, it is my understanding you don't necessarily want to be there in the winter, because I think that's where you get a ton of lake effect snow that just blows hard up into that area. So we were getting close to the Mackinac Bridge there and looked like rain. So we took an opportunity to stop for lunch at a little place called the Bear Patch Restaurant in Engadin, Michigan. Yeah, sorry. Tiny place. I believe there's 8 tables.
Oh, wow.
And I think they worked on each thing one at a time. But it was really good food, all made from scratch. And honestly, we needed to spend the time anywhere. We just would have got wet. So if you get a chance to stop at the Bear Patch Restaurant, it's recommended.
Those are my favorite types of places.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, this place looked closed.
Oh.
So it was good, though. So then we got on the road, but it wasn't too much further, but we had to stop again for a pasty.
Of course.
So that was at Wildwood Pasties. That's Brevport. Side note. We can talk about this a little bit later in our tips and tricks and toolkits, but the Pasty Trail or Pastry Trail. He's got a name spelled that way, but we'll talk about it. We missed out big time. So we've got another trip opportunity up there. There's actually a Pasty Trail and there's Pasty Trail with beer too. So like,
Nice.
I don't know, this could be a good thing. So we ran across the Mackinac Bridge. What a beautiful day. It was a little breezy, but other than that, it was just perfect. That is where on the south side, then you'd go from 2 to 23. So we kind of hung a eastbound route and then rode the coast down 23 all the way down to a town called Alpena when we just cut back directly over to Gaylord.
Mhm.
But where there was a great stop that we stopped at, Brad might not agree, but it was a little place called Seymour's Long Lake. Again, another place that looked, we weren't even sure it was open. We needed fuel. We were running out and it looked like it definitely had gas pumps and it looked like an old abandoned station almost. Like there was no lights on hardly, but you go in there and it was a great place. Like had pizza, all kinds of things.
Really?
So it looked like it was it was a popular snowmobile stop.
Mm.
And that's what you do have to be careful of. Some of the places up there that get a lot of snowmobiles, they what do you call it when you put a hump in the middle of the road? You know, you kind of what was that
Oh,
called?
yeah.
A crown.
Yeah, crown. Yep.
There was a little crown there, and one rider almost lost the motorcycle.
Ooh.
So you do have to be paying attention when you're pulling up to some of these places because you're trying to get gas, but then just an inch or two in footing when you're not thinking, and then that weight shifts.
Yeah.
You do have to be careful. He didn't dump the bike, but he did let his helmet roll all the way into the dip, which I found amazing and hopefully is on the video. So,
And I think that happens every trip. Someone
Something
dumps their
happens, right?
helmet and rolls.
it was the best because it was like the slowest roll you could even imagine. And it was just like, vroom, vroom. Like, was it going to stop or is it going to keep rolling? Oh, nope. It hit oh gosh, it went down to the middle of the ditch. So after I got done laughing, I went and got the helmet. I figured that was only fair.
That was nice. Yeah.
So day 3 was kind of our long road back west. We were going from Gaylord, Michigan to Tomahawk. So up the best day we found maybe to ride M119, which is one of the best roads, absolutely bar none, in Michigan. We did that on a Saturday morning. Oh my goodness, was it dead? And it was beautiful. Perfect. Again, just one of the coolest roads. My favorite ride is from the south to the north. When you're doing that, it's just a little bit better views, and I think it's just the angle of the road, but they're both good.
Mm-hmm.
Which rides you up in the Cross Village, and you can go up into there, and then we always end up going to Bliss. And funny enough, Bliss had a kind of a full revamp. They
Really?
the inside was completely redone, new owner from what we heard, and so yeah, that was kind of cool to see that because sometimes we go and they're not always doing so well. So,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, so back over the bridge, then going from south to north, and we found another pasty shop.
And you stopped.
We did. Letho's Pasties, Pasties. Sorry, Letho's Pasties. That was one of the original ones. So they were old school. So that was it was fun to stop there. Not a lot of frills. There's not options. Like no one's gone Pasty Fusion yet. So someday, I suppose. But so then we got to go back across that great section of Highway 2, Escanaba, that we were talking about. That was really good. But now when we got to Escanaba, we kind of turned west and we kind of noticed that we were a little ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
And so Brad knew of the coolest thing. It's called the Burnt Rollways Boat Hoist.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in Oneida County, Wisconsin. So what this thing is it's like, there's so many lakes up there and not all of them are the exact same level, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what this thing does is, and I don't remember which lake to which lake it does, but it will take your lake from the lower one, which I would say it's dammed,
Take your boat.
It would take your boat.
You said take your lake.
Oh,
Take
the
your
lake
boat.
is about 20 feet lower.
Oh,
So
wow.
it'll take your boat. It grabs it, hoists it up 25 feet, moves it over, and drops it in the other lake.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's like an electric machine that, like zoop, like you can imagine.
I mean, does it look like a crane? What?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
no
it just
kidding.
hooks onto the bottom, kind of like hugs the hull,
Wow.
lifts it up, and then they do an inspection of some sort because there's a certain type of plant that they don't want to get passed back and forth. So there's actually a plant inspector there as well. But when we were there, it was like a 1957 Chris Craft. Thank you.
Yeah.
Unbelievable boat. I mean, it was beautiful. And so the guy had it, and he was very proud of it. It was a very cool boat.
I'll bet.
But yeah, it was neat to be able to see. We got to see one boat go from each way.
Cool.
And yeah, so Burnt Rollways Boat Hoist. If you get a chance, if you're up there, it's by Eagle River. Just a cool thing to stop and see. And
yeah, I'd love to see
kind of always running in the summer. And it's down some neat little roadways.
And do you stop and pay to have your boat moved? Or
Yes. Well, I didn't ask if it costs, but I know they were tipping. So I'm assuming maybe it costs, but yeah, I'd have to check into that one. But yeah, so quite the experience to see that for sure. So. And then we ended up staying at Tomahawk, which is a place we've stayed a number of times. We enjoy the Pine Tree Supper Club, and that is where now I unfortunately didn't try the Court Jester 55 pounds. I had to, restrain slightly. I only had the King's Cut 28-ounce private.
Oh, all right. Well, I think the 55 must be made for two people.
They said that, but I still think we should try. Next time.
Gotcha.
I'll get myself worked up for it, So that was day 3. And then day 4, we kind of came out of Tomahawk, and Tomahawk's kind of in the middle of the state. And we headed west on the 4-lane over to Eau Claire. And I don't know if you've ever stopped at a Quick Trip in Wisconsin, but there's a couple. There's all of them.
Oh, okay. What are you getting at?
Oh,
we have Quick Trips here. What do you mean?
Yeah, I'm just saying though, Wisconsin, there's so many Quick Trips up
there. It's like
there.
the Casey's here.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, they fight about that. That's a fight for them. So then we kind of found our way over to County J. And as when we talk about Wisconsin roads, anytime you find a lettered road, you're in a good place. Because we had a plan to go to the best pie in America per USA Today 2024. And we found it at Stockholm Pie and General Store. This town is probably population 430 maybe. And I'll bet you there's 3,000 people in there. It was unreal. It was on a Sunday. And it was beautiful. We didn't even plan it because I think we accidentally got over to this County J. And it just came in right on the street that the pie shop was on. It was great. It was really, really great.
Were people there to shop? Were they there to...
It's too small shopping. Like, I don't even know what I'd tell you. Like, it was weird. It was like a town that's starting... I honestly believe that the Stockholm Pie and General Store getting the #1 pie in the USA has just bloomed this town because people were restoring the town.
I see.
At the time. I mean,
wow.
We actually ran into a gentleman. Well, I bought some farm apples. So the guy picked them this morning, he said, that morning. And then we took a tour. We're just walking along and this shop, like an old, I would call it a general store, I guess. With nothing in it, and this guy was restoring the whole entire thing. He had sanded the floors, put like vintage wood back up on the sides, and just unbelievable.
Wow.
And next door to that, he kind of had his little man cave, and he had like a dragster, 2-engine dragster from the 60s, bunch of motorcycles and all kinds of stuff. He's like, "Oh, come on in, take a look." And it was just one of those times again where you just like, we're just looking in the window, and this guy goes, "You guys want to see these a little closer?" And we're like, "Sure."
Of course.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was quite the thing. So, it was a really good journey, and then we ended up just coming back home the River Road and coming back this way. So, yeah. So, wow, it was fun. Another good ride. Enjoyed it. Nothing broke down, which was kind of good. We didn't get into rain, which is rare.
That's rare.
Seems like so. So, yeah, the UP for the win. But we definitely have to get up on this Pasty trail now, though. Like, maybe we can combine it with Turk's Stormy Cromer run, maybe, or something. I don't know.
That sounds good.
Thinking spring next year.
All right.
Yeah.
This is a section we call the Toolkit. We share motorcycle gear review, and other riding tips.
The Toolkit today, we'll talk about backup route planning. So
Yeah, in general, I think when you and Brad and are planning our routes,
yeah,
you usually kind of build in a few like shortcuts in case we need to like abort the day because of really bad weather, bad storms and that. You've got like a shortcut.
yeah.
Let planned into the route. Let's just get to
Yeah,
the
we've talked about
place.
that a
Yeah.
lot. If you kind of like do some find something that's down a little further, find something that's up.
Mm-hmm.
When you're planning that way, if you have to cut through the middle, you can make up time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, is that what we're going to talk about here?
Well, I
The
mean, that's a
Blacktop?
good thing,
Or is that
right?
just okay?
But I think now what we found with this ride is that we also sometimes you might want to plan for an extra place to stop, because that's what happened to us on day 3. We kind of got out of Dodge and we were a little ahead of schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So we were set to maybe get at the hotel at like 3:00 in the afternoon. We didn't have another plan. So we could have just went back to the checked
Mm-hmm.
into the hotel and done something there. But luckily Brad he goes, I think I know where this place is. He goes, I'm not 100% sure. And so that's how we found the boat hoist.
Oh,
And
gotcha.
I mean, he had been there before. He had seen this,
Yeah.
but that's just another kind of the yin and the yang maybe of the trip planning too, is to have a few extra places on the maps. And then kind of like when I was looking up, when I was preparing for this episode, I wanted to kind of see, okay, the 2 places that we stopped for pasties, I think was Lethos and Wildwood. And I was like, okay, I thought they were good, and I just was like, are they the best?
Mm-hmm.
And I found that they're not. They're good. They're good places, but they're not the best. So I ended up and then found this guy, pastyguy.com.
Oh,
Pastyguy.com's got these Pasty Trail, so like I think we've talked about it before, but pre-trip planning sometimes kind of thinking about loosen up your question, I guess I'd say, when you're planning, like maybe trying to figure out like luckily I found him now, and the next time we go up there we can hit some of his ideas,
yeah,
or
right.
something.
And I just like the idea that plan to maybe get to the destination at 3. That way you can extend if you want to. You can,
Yeah.
take an extra little.
Or as you go
detour.
along, like, we're on track, let's skip the extra, or
Yeah.
no, we're ahead of schedule, so let's go ahead and put something else in.
Yeah.
And so we did miss his number 1 recommendation, 18 out of 20 on the pasties scale. Laurie's pasties, but that was all the way up in Marquette. So we were a little ways off of that.
Okay.
So I'm not 100% sure had we found that one. But I think it just goes to the whole, be open, be agile. We've talked about that before. Don't have too much planned. That way you can kind of add or subtract as necessary.
Yeah.
Because what you don't want to do, we've talked about this, I think, before, is you just don't want to have it be where you're just drained and you really just want to get back and relax, or vice versa. And we've had days where we knew this trip was going to be one of those ones where the furthest point away was the middle of the trip. So you knew your motor is back.
Mhm.
And those can be okay, but they can also be draining.
Yeah.
So if you liked the podcast today, please like and subscribe or sign up for our BMR alerts. It's our way of keeping you in the loop. We promise no spam.
Keep the spirit of adventure alive, and remember, bikes, friends, and endless roads, the stories ride forever. Take care.